Hello and welcome. If you're looking for a way to differentiate your sight word instruction, then you're definitely going to want to watch tonight because I'm going to share with you my step-by-step process of how I differentiated sight word instruction and practice for my students using my sight word fluency flashcards. I'm Brenda Tejeda and I taught in the classroom for 17 years, mostly in kindergarten and first grade. And now I love to help teachers by sharing my tips and ideas and creating resources to help you save you time and make teaching fun and learning fun for your students. All right, so let's get started. Any word can be a sight word. A sight word just means that it's a word that's recognized easily by sight without having to decode or sound out the word. Today I'm going to be talking about high frequency sight words, which are words that are frequently found in children's books, and it's important to build a large sight word vocabulary because it builds reading fluency and comprehension. So when I introduce a word in my classroom, I use a phonics-based approach. And I do have a blog post that details exactly how I did that. I'll link to it afterwards. And we always use the words of the week to practice games and practice them with games and activities throughout the week. But we all know that students don't all need to practice the same group of words. So I love to differentiate not only with sight words, but really across the board. And most of the things that I taught, I thought about ways to differentiate for my students. So sight word was one of those areas. And not all students need to practice the same list of words. And so in my centers and guided reading, that was the perfect time for me to differentiate words for my students. So I'm going to go through my 4-step process for differentiating sight word practice. If you have any questions as I go along, make sure you write them in the comments. Okay, so step 1, of course, is to assess. So I will show you what I use to assess my students. In my sight word fluency flashcards pack, I have some recording sheets. And this is what it would look like for the teacher, for you, and the student would have a copy, and I would cover and show them only one column at a time so they wouldn't get overwhelmed by all the words. As they went down the column reading the words, I would just make notes on my paper. If they made a mistake, I would circle it. If they made any attempts at all at reading the word, I would write what they wrote next to it. And I should mention that my sight word fluency flashcards come in sets of 100 words, but I only assess for 25 words at a time. And if I see that they're struggling with even the first set, then I will stop, and I know that that's where I need to start working with them. What I do with this is make a copy for myself, keep a copy in my classroom, and then send a copy home so parents can also work with their students on that group of words. Step 2 is to group my students. So after I've assessed all of my students, I'll input the data in my class assessment at a glance, and then I can easily see which group of words each student is working. So for example, on this sheet, I can see, first of all, like I mentioned, I have 100 words and they're in groups of 25. So I have them color-coded pink, green, blue, yellow, or you can use numbers too, 1, 2, 3, 4. And by looking at the data here, I can see when I gave each student a set, which set they started on, and when they mastered that group of words. So for example, Melanie here started with the green set. That means that she was able to read all of the words in the pink set right away, and she got some mistakes in the green set. So that's where I started with her. I gave her the green set of cards on this date, and then this is the date that she mastered those words. All right, let's get back to step 3. Once you have grouped your students and you know which group of words they're going to be working with, it's time to assign. So I give each student their own word ring, and I color code these to differentiate them easily. They each have a little code in the top left corner to let me know which group they're working in as well, so you don't have to color code them. You can print them on all white. And they have a story, a very short, simple story with the target sight word. And at the top, as you can see, they have a little review bank. These are previously covered words in spiral review. So I love to review words. We review words whole group and also in their sight word ring so that they don't forget them. And it's important to practice sight words in context. Like I said before, I also introduce them with phonics and we talk about the letters and the sounds that they make, but it's also important that they know what the words mean, so I love to practice in context. Now, when they have their sight word rings, they take them home and they bring them into the classroom so they can practice in school and at home. In school, they take them out for morning work. If they finish something early, they can take out their sight word rings and they can work with partners too. I also have these at my guided reading table, my back table as I call it, and they know when they come to me for guided reading, they can grab the set and start practicing and reading it until we're ready to start our group. All right, step 4 is to monitor their progress. Of course, we give them the initial assessment to see where they need to start, but then we have to monitor their progress. And I do it on the same sheet of paper. I don't have to use a different sheet of paper, but I just use a different colored marker. So if I used red for the first time, then I might use black for the next time, and then I just add the date with the color marker that I use, and that lets me know how they did each time. And then when they master each group of 25 words, they get a certificate which they can add to their word ring, or they can take it home to show their family, and they get a little shout out in the classroom too, which they love. And here's a little optional thing that we did for monitoring progress. They had little sticker cards in their sight word ring. Now this is not included in the Fluency Flashcards, but I do have these available separately. And you can use little stickers to mark the words that they've mastered, or you can just have them color them in. I don't know about you, but I love making goals with my students and having them make their own goals. It really allows them to take ownership of their work and work harder towards those goals. So we would get together and they would make a goal for the date that they wanted to master their sight words, and then we'd work together and see if they reached their goal, what they could do if they didn't, and that helped us really to make a plan. So this is another way you can help them monitor their progress. All right, so I showed you my sight word fluency flashcards, but now I'm going to talk about more ways to use them, because these cards are really versatile, and not only did I use them different ways in my classroom, but I loved learning about how other teachers use them in ways that I didn't even think of. So here are some ways, if you own them, you can use them in your classroom. So you can use them at a center if you put some in a little plastic sleeve, and students can use magnetic letters or Play-Doh to build the words. You can have them use markers to find the words and circle them. And this is actually one of my warm-ups, but this is an activity a teacher told me that they do with my sight word fluency flashcards. So one of the things that we did for fluency is they would have like a little race against themselves. And I would give them a little sand timer, and they would read a passage. You can do this with any passage that you have. It doesn't have to be the warm-ups or the sight word fluency flashcards. As long as it's laminated, it's kind of a race against themselves. They use different color markers to mark where the last word that they read each time they timed themselves. So this is great for fluency. Another way you can use them is if you print them in just on regular paper, you can have the students put them into their notebooks. And if you watched my video yesterday, I told you that I love having a center notebook because I want to minimize worksheets and just all that paper and all that correcting. So I would have these at a center. They just glue the paper and their notebooks, and then you can extend the activity by having them write one more sentence to go with the word. You can have them build a sentence or do rainbow writing on their notebook. So many ways that you can use them. Or if you want them to practice a few words at a time, you can print them. You can print a page and then staple a little booklet together if you have more than 4, and they can work on them to try to read the passages and highlight the target word. Now this has my pocket dice cards, which is not included in the Fluency Flashcards pack, but I usually use these with these pocket dice. Let me show you. I don't know if you have these in your classroom, but these are cards that just fit right in here, and we would roll the dice, and they have to read their sight word flashcard or any passage that you're using with silly voices like monster voice and a baby voice, a robot voice. That was a lot of fun. All right, so I want to show you that I also have these available in digital Google Slides and in Boom cards. Okay. Here is what the Google Slides version looks like. So this is a practice slide just to get them used to how to move the highlighter here. And then each card is on a slide, and there are some movable highlights on the side so they can practice the target word. This review bank, they should try to read it fluently as fast as they can a few times, and then read the passage, and then they can highlight the target sight word in the review boxes and in the passage. And to show you what it looks like if you have boom, I don't know, do you use boom cards? I love them in my classroom. Let me know in the comments if you used boom cards. And here's how they work. The first one is also just a practice slide so that they know what they're going to do. And when you hit submit, I don't think you can hear that, but it makes a little bell noise, which is fun. And here the highlighters are in the top left corner, and they can move them to cover the words after reading them. And the great thing about boom cards is they're self-checking. So if they didn't find all of the words, when they try to submit it, it'll say whoops, and it'll show them the rest of the words for just a second, and then they can easily find them. Okay, so Mary, you love boom cards. Me too. My students loved playing with them in the classroom. And then when you hit submit, if they're all found, it'll go, oh, I missed one. See how that works? Now it says correct, and it goes to the next word. Okay, and also with the digital Google Slides version, you can print 4 to 1 page. Now they only come in color, the digital version. The printable ones are in black and white, and the digital ones are in color, but you can print them 4 to a page if you want to just print multiple cards for the same word. And if you want a complete kit for everything that you need for your sight word instruction, including centers, a 10-page teacher guide with pictures and step-by-step instructions of exactly how to teach sight words to your students, and enough center practice for the entire year, then I have the Ultimate Sight Word Bundle, which is also on sale, and it has all of my sight word materials for fry words. I also have these for Dolch words if you use that list, but I forgot to mention that the digital ones are editable as well. So if you use a different word list, you can edit the word boxes at the top. And I even included, I think I forgot to show you here. Here's what the editable card looks like. So you can type in your own words, and you can even type in your own story, add your own clip art to make it go with your words. All right, and I hope that you got some great tips for your classroom this week. If you missed any of the replays, make sure to go to my Tejeda's Tots Facebook page, and you can catch them there. Also visit my blog, tejedastots.com, and I have lots of blog posts with ideas about sight words and all kinds of reading and writing, just literacy in general. Have a great night. Thanks for joining me.